TV. Not because his ratings were bad, but because the people who were watching were just too old. In just a moment, we'll find out about their lives in, out, and away from the business.
Miller Genuine Draft. For those who've discovered its real draft taste, the world is a very cool place.
You wouldn't keep something this poisonous around the house, or would you? Minneapolis Children's reminds you to keep poisonous plants like these away from young children. You'd never try a stunt like this, but your baby might. Minneapolis Children's reminds you, never leave young children alone when they're in a walker.
At Mystic Lake, a legend is told of the wise old eagle who carried his people's wishes to the Great Spirit. Some believe you can still hear him fly over the water, carrying good fortune and prosperity on his wings. Perhaps one night it will be yours.
I had the most amazing dream.
Not about a baseball field.
No, about this great camera and video store. A salesperson showed me an autofocus Canon EOS Rebel, and then he showed me their huge selection, terrific prices, and they've got great service, too.
That's no dream. That's National Camera and Video, and right now they're having their summer spectacular.
Is this heaven?
No, this is National Camera and Video.
National Camera and Video. People will come.
It's Good Company with your host, the husband and wife team, Steve and Sharon.
What is it about Steve and Sharon? The TV hosts of KSTP's Good Company have kept the viewers coming back for more since they first went on the air in 1976. And today, their show is the highest-rated local daytime program in the country. Why do you two think that your show, in particular, has been so successful?
Sharon.
You're so generous.
I think Sharon is a natural. Far more natural than I am.
He doesn't give himself credit, though. Look at this face. I mean, is this a charming face? I think people like... Come on, there's kind of a little boy quality about you that I think people relate to.
I think Steve was from the start an entertainer looking for the right stage. I mean,
Years ago, at a small station in Ohio, Ed Bewley, now a television consultant in Dallas, co-anchored the news with Steve.
He got into television news, I think, because that was a way to get into television. But I think once he got into news, he found that to be very stifling. It was too rigid for him. He couldn't really express his personality. And so when the talk and magazine show opportunity came along, I think that was a perfect marriage of everything that Steve has.
While Steve was dreaming about and tinkering with a formula for a daytime talk show, Sharon was hundreds of miles away in Chicago, a student at Northwestern University doing her own dreaming about a career in dance and theater. She studied with the renowned modern jazz dancer Gus Giordano, later joining his company.
I think a person like that you never will ever forget. The physicality alone. She was probably one of the most beautiful dancers that we have had coming through this school. And not only the dance quality, but also the intelligence. Once they've got the discipline of dance and the mind, they can soar to all kinds of heights, which Sherry has done.
Sherry, as she was known in those days, married an actor and lived briefly in New York. But eventually the couple moved to Minneapolis, where Sharon landed a role at the Old Log Theater.
I don't know that we ever had anyone that was better than she at comedy.
Why did she quit working out here, Don?
Well, I think that was my fault. I recommended her to KSTP, and that job was better. No, they had called, and wanted to know if I could suggest anyone that they could audition for a new show that they were going to put on the air. And it was an interview show, and it would take a certain rapport with the audience and a quickness and a glibness and someone who had warmth, and I recommended Sharon. And the only one that I did recommend, and I think it was 2 days later she had the job.
What was also clear from the moment Sharon sat down next to Steve is that the two had chemistry, on the air and off. And as it turned out, perfect timing. Steve was divorced, Sharon's marriage was on the rocks. At what point did the romance begin?
I don't know, probably about 6 months, 7 months into it, I think.
Yeah, see, the beauty of it was we established a relationship as friends first.
Yeah.
We counted on each other to do the show, so we were working together, we were friends. I mean, it was taking a chance, really, when you think about it, when you fall in love with your co-host. I mean, that could be professional suicide.
But we didn't get married for 4 years. And so, and we didn't talk about it on the air, so I think some people thought they had an idea, but it wasn't public knowledge.
That had to be kind of tough, though. I mean, it had to be kind of tough working every day, having a romance going on at the same time.
No, to the contrary.
It was easy.
Oh, I mean, you know, if
well, you wanted to get up and go to work every day, right? It's fun.
If anything, the deal is if anything real is going on between two people on the air, I would assume it makes it that much more interesting. We are able to be ourselves on the air because we really did have chemistry. So a lot of what we did, I think, was more natural as it is now.
Well, if you can remember in those very early weeks, I mean, was there a moment or was there an incident where you just sort of went, I know?
There were some moments. Yeah, there were some really, lovely moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never forget the first time I put my arms around Sharon. I mean, really. It was like it was yesterday. We were going to this restaurant, and the first time I ever held her, it was magic, but I had really, really loved her for a long time.
You know, you guys, I think people see you as having this kind of idyllic relationship.
We love to spend time together. There's a quality to being together, like when we have dinner alone together. I feel that I can be totally myself with Sharon. She really knows me, and she appreciates the best part of me.
And what a wonderful thing that is when you can spend all of your time with someone who feels that way about you.
Part of the reason for Steve and Sharon's popularity has been their willingness to let the viewers in on their lives. There are people in the audience today who still remember them as they romanced each other, fell in love, and started a family. You have said to me, Steve, in fact, it was shortly, not too long after you had your son, that was really a tough period for you because you weren't thrilled to share Sharon.
Yes, that's right. I think that was one of the most difficult parts of our relationship. But it was... Remember, we had this very, very intimate relationship. And we spent an enormous amount of time together before we had David.
Part of it was working together so closely. Because when I had David, then suddenly I was not there so much. Physically and just to talk about the show, to talk about the business, to be there for meetings as much. So not only was he losing me in a way as a constant companion, he was losing this coworker.
Colleague.
Did you get past that?
Yes, but it took time. It took years. As David got older and he could talk and got interested in doing things together, and we could go out on these little outings that we do, and we look forward to doing things together, and it's wonderful now.
These days, Sharon spends as much of her free time as possible with David, participating in his activities. But Steve, as co-host and executive producer of Good Company, works obsessively. Co-workers say he can, when it comes to work, be insensitive and overly demanding. But those who know him well say he's hardest on himself.
I think he's a perfectionist at the highest level, and he's innovative. I think when you're trying to be the talent of a program, you're trying to be the producer of the program, you have a conflict to begin with. It's very hard to balance those two. And for him to have balanced those two roles as well and as long as he has, I think speaks to the complexity of the person.
I think my greatest strength is behind the scenes, not on camera. And I do enjoy a lot of what goes on behind the scenes. You know, I love working with the whole crew of people. It's fun. It's fun kind of visioning what should be on the air and playing with it, seeing what actually comes out. We have large meetings and we talk about what we're going to do. And we'll talk about, well, should we do that? Will that work? What are the elements that'll make that work? And we always do that in a group. It's great. We've had some very talented people come through our show. And it's really sink or swim.
And if you're swimming, then he's the perfect person to work under because he will give you, you know, he'll let you just keep going and going and going and let you rise to the top. So I think he might not be the easiest person if you're struggling. And Sharon really balances that out because Sharon is really, really kind. And, you know, if she sees, you know, she's just very warm and very kind and very compassionate. And so she's a good balance. Not to say he's not, but I think he gravitates more towards people that he feels a respect for.
Ellen Rakuten credits Steve and what she learned from him working on Good Company with her success today as a producer on The Oprah Winfrey Show.
Oh, I think he's amazing. He's a television genius. He has done things in the local market that have been imitated on a national level.
When it comes to stress, what I use is running. I mean, running works every single time. And I've been running my brains out for years.
You guys have done this job for such a long time. Have you ever lost your enthusiasm for it?
You know, in a way, it's self-generating. As long as the audience likes the show, then it's great. It's the best. But I think if the audience really eroded, if it was no longer a successful show, it wouldn't be any more fun to do.
Do you worry about getting old?
Sure, I think about aging. I think it's inevitable. One day I'll be quite content with the way I'm aging and think I'm just going to just age comfortably. On the other hand, I think maybe in June I could book a plastic surgeon. Right. Get a little bit done here. You know, so I'm really up in the air about that.
Would you ever do that?
I'm gonna do. Would I ever do it? I tell you, one day I say no. I'm just going to look. I'm just going to grow my hair. I'm going to be who I am. A big braid, wear long skirts, and be this wise old woman, you know. And other days, like, I'm going to get it all tucked up here, and I'm going to keep bleaching it up, and, you know. So I don't know. I haven't made a decision on that. I guess I'll have to in the near future, but I'm not saying no.
Do you feel like you can go out, Sharon, just to the grocery store and not wear makeup? And
oh, sure. I think people are going to stare at me whether I'm wearing makeup or not. You know, they just do. Mm-hmm. But I don't feel like a star, and I don't think people treat me like a star here. I think from being on the air so much and doing the kind of show we do, people just react like, oh, I know you. Oh, Sharon, hi. No, it's more a friend.
As great a relationship as you two have, there are yearly the rumors that you're getting a divorce.
Are there really?
See, we don't hear that.
Yeah, we don't
really?
Hear that. So we're getting a divorce?
I hear at least once a year. And this time it's for real.
We don't hear it. Have you ever heard that?
No, there was only one period of time. It was several years ago. And people suddenly, this is the only time this ever happened, started to come to me and said, is there something going on here? In fact, somebody inside the station, high up in the station, finally came to me and said, we've heard this rumor. Is it true? I said, absolutely not.
So you guys have got it all.
You have a bigger house. So I don't think we have it all, but we do want your house. If we had your house, we would have it all. I think we have a very wonderful, rich life. We love what we do. We love our family. We have a good time together. And yes, but remember, you know, life is not a photograph. Boom. They have it all, and they're going to have it all forever, and this is the way it's going to be.
Right. And in television especially, when you know, this could all be over tomorrow as far as what we do for a living. I think it would be hard to find something that gives us the rush and the satisfaction of what we do.
It's great. I mean, we're lucky that this thing is what it is. I mean, doing this show together for all this time, this is a party. This is fun. It is fun, really.
It is a great way to make a living.
It is.
I mean, I just can't imagine doing anything better.
Coming up.
You had an opinion.
Mm-hmm. and a high opinion of my opinion.
Cyndy Brucato still speaking her mind, but these days the former broadcaster bends the ear of not-so-receptive reporters as the governor's press secretary.
There was a time when
And Tom Barnard, his rich voice has made the regular guy from North Minneapolis a wealthy man in radio and TV commercials. When a Pat Miles special returns.
For fun around here, me and the boys like to do something a little bit crazy. Put 2 kinds of cheese on the cheeseburger.
For a wild new taste, head to the store for 2 kinds of cheese and lean ground beef.
Cheddar and Munster. Crazy!
Where do the days go? Where do the years go? Where does the money go? How do you know all your hard work is paying off to the fullest? One sure way is with Norwest Bank, where you'll find more financial strength and more rewarding services. And that can make for a little more certainty in your life. Norwest Banks, come to expect the best. Right now, Norwest Bank is offering spring discounts on home equity loans. You'll save 0.25% APR on an interest rate that's as low as it's been for years. And you'll pay no closing costs. Just call NORWEST 24 hours a day. You'll talk to a banker who can answer your questions on home equity loans and who can start your application right over the phone. Norwest Banks, come to expect the best. Dayton's 2-day sale, only 2 short days, this Wednesday and Thursday.
Just imagine you invited a few people over for dinner. Okay, 3,000.
It would cost me a fortune to feed 3,000 people.
Well, that's how much food it takes to feed the average family for a year. So think how much you'll save if you buy it all at Cub, where you'll always find the lowest overall prices.
Who wants to help with the dishes?
Cub Foods, what good food should cost.
This is KARE 11, Minnesota's NBC station.
Classic rock KQ92, some Fleetwood Mac. Also before that, Eric Burden and the Animals. It's 6:09 now. Be right back in a couple of seconds with Terry, Tony, and Tom. Also Starch Menthol and Jeff Passel here. News information, KQ Satellite Weather, and the sports. Minnesota's choice for rock and roll, KQ92.
One thing about our show is that we just go on the show and talk. It's not like scripted out or anything. So it's you really just go out and lay it out there and take a shot.
What do you have in sports? How
Your
about
Wolves.
Wolves lose 14. That's Jimmy Rogers.
Called it.
Jimmy Rogers looking at that paycheck next year if the team doesn't improve a little bit. 14 in a row.
Forget Minnesota nice. This is Tom Barnard, the Twin Cities' #1 morning drive radio DJ. And he didn't get to the top patting his buddies on the head. Tom's trademark is his brash, sarcastic, often arrogant, tell-it-like-it-is style.
To tell you the truth, I think that for Mike Tyson right now, going to prison would be the best thing because it'd get him away from the unseemly element like Don King. Okay, guy's in prison.
I will not hurt someone's feelings purposely. I won't do that.
Did you used to do that?
Oh, I think so, but I didn't do it on purpose. I just was trying to find out where that boundary was. And I found out now, and I know. And I think, again, I need to remind everybody that I'm still learning how to do this, because I didn't know how to do it. I just went on the air 6 years ago and just did it. First of all, what I do is just what we did in the neighborhood.
The neighborhood is North Minneapolis. After his father, a sick and troubled man, flew the coop, Tom's mother struggled alone to raise him and his 6 brothers and sisters.
I was raised by my mother and my sisters, basically. My father was gone.
Where'd your dad go?
My dad left. That's where he went. My father had a lot of health problems.
What was wrong with him?
My family doesn't want me to tell anyone that. He was ill. There was another paradox, because I loved my father a great deal, but I hated his illness. Oh, God, did I hate it a lot. And finding that line, what was him and what was his illness, was not easy to do. It's exactly the same.
Hadn't changed a bit.
It hasn't changed at all.
Most of Tom's closest friends still live in the old neighborhood, and he comes here often to visit. Tom says these are the ties that keep his life in perspective.
And I think a lot of people in North Minneapolis think, you know, why would anyone want to live there, or growing up there? As long as you kept your values and looked to your family and friends, you knew what to do, what not to do. I had an extremely happy childhood here, and a lot of fun. Don't have a bad word to say about the place.
Have you been back to the school? I mean, is this the first time you guys have been back?
No, we were back a year ago. 2 years ago.
For a reunion. At this school? Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Yeah.
And that's the first time I've been in the building since we graduated, I think.
Why the connection between you guys and Tom? What was that? What was it about him and you that brought you guys all together?
Arrogance?
God, yeah, thanks, Greg.
We put each other down the most.
Yeah?
That was it.
And who could?
Well, Tom thought he could. I think everybody was pretty glib back then. In fact, you can hear some of the old phraseology and some of the old sayings coming over on Tom's program.
Did you know Tom was going to be a big radio personality someday?
When Tom was about 12 years old, sitting at Guy's house, that was the hangout, Lorentz Place. He says, by the time I'm 35, I'm going to be a millionaire.
I think we all really believed that he was going to be the success he talked about. He ate, slept, and drank radio. When we were out playing outdoors, he was listening to radio and babysitting brothers and sisters.
Well, Tom's obviously been extremely successful. Has he changed at all, in your opinion, as a result of that?
You know, it's too bad, but he hasn't. I think that's part of his success, is that he does come off as that genuine guy that he was years ago.
You asked why we all connected. Another reason is that family issue again. And 30 guys that we went to school with are either dead or in prison, and they're going to be there forever. And the question is asked, why didn't any of us end up that way? It's because of the family thing. None of us would have wanted to. I mean, I know all these guys' parents, and none of us would have wanted to treat our families that way, and that's why. It would have broken my mother's heart if I had become a hoodlum. So I didn't. And that's a fact.
No, I think it's interesting that you were raised by all these women, and you're such a guy's guy today.
See, I don't think
people
that's true.
see you that way.
You think they do, really?
Oh, sure. With your radio show? Well, you're also married to a very strong woman.
Her attraction for me was the fact that she's very, very independent. She's a very strong woman and will put up with absolutely nothing. And I admire her for that.
As frustrating as he can be, because he's so hyperkinetic and, you know, very stress-oriented and on the phone, who said this about me?
Tom's wife, Catherine, was in on the ground floor of his career as a producer on the very first KQ morning show. And she says she knew then unequivocally that Tom was headed for radio stardom.
I guess he knows what people like. You know, he just knows how to tell a joke.
And now here's what it is. Haggis is minced sheep's heart.
Don't tell me this.
No, well, listen to what's in this dish. We're having beef Rudy.
So how did you get into broadcasting?
I went to school, Brown Institute, on what was then called the WIP program, Work Incentive Program, Hennepin County. It was for underprivileged children.
So you were given what amounts to a scholarship for underprivileged children to go to Brown. You excelled there?
No, I was thrown out 7 times. As a matter of fact,
and you didn't even quit once?
No, I didn't quit there at all. I didn't quit that school at all. No, I was tossed from that school 7 different times. I have a history of that also, by the way. The fact that I went to Brown 7 times, and I worked for Mr. Hubbard 5 different times. So this is the 2nd time I've worked at KQRS. I worked almost everywhere I've ever worked. I've worked at least twice, and maybe 5 times.
Well, what is that? Where does that come from?
Where does it, bailing on things like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You call it bailing. Some people call it quitting.
Bailing, quitting. But bailing sounds funnier. Why do I do that? That's an authority thing. you know. But I grew out of that.
Complete read, track 1616.
When your office is 200,000 acres of rugged woodland, and you train the men who prevent...
If you haven't heard his wit on rock radio, you no doubt have listened to Tom's voice in commercials.
There's nothing else this effective with the clean classic scent of Old Spice.
It's a second full-time job outside KQRS, and with a number of national voiceover contracts, even more lucrative.
And now Miller is bringing it back for a boldness that strikes a whole new chord. Miller Reserve 100% Barley Draft. Taste what barley does for beer. Reserve and Reserve Light. A bold departure.
He's what you call a network voice. So his voice is going to be used quite a bit for national spots, as opposed to only the local market.
Tom, this voiceover work, it's extremely lucrative, is it not? I mean, it's made you a millionaire.
Well, maybe. Yeah, so...
And you really don't need to work.
Oh, that's work.
At a radio station.
No, I suppose that is true. Yeah, it's true. Maybe that's why I do enjoy doing the radio job, because I guess I wouldn't have to. But I don't want to live in New York with 2 small children, and that's where I'd have to go.
He makes a very nice salary now, but he could probably triple what he makes now if he was interested in the money only. And he's not. He'd rather stay in the Twin Cities and have a life, have a family, and be around things that he loves.
So what's the future hold for you?
Hopefully, I'll always do voiceover. And I also realize that one day people will say, well, gee, Tom, that was a lot of fun listening to you on the radio, but we're doing something else now, or we're at another point in our life now, or we're doing this now. And when I get to that point, then I just say, that was great, thanks a lot. It'll be okay, because it's not going to last forever.
Thank you very much.
You have to realize one thing, that in 10 years after I go away, nobody will even know who the hell I am. They won't know. And that's, that's so how important it can be. I have learned that life, no matter how much you try to control it or whatever, because I used to be kind of into that a few years ago, life will kind of tell you where to go. People around you will tell you where to go, how to handle situations, and just pay attention. You gotta open your eyes and ears and pay attention to everybody. So that's it.
Still ahead.
Well, I mean, do you lean forward? Do you stand up straight, or what?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Always radiating a genuine love for his work, Dave Moore's enjoying his latest assignment away from daily news. And Cyndy Brucato, an unlikely candidate. She's now the governor's media representative after taking a beating by the press for her brash demeanor as a news anchor in the early 80s. When a Pat Miles special returns.
Good evening, I'm Paul Majors. Immediately following tonight's Pat Miles special, we'll bring you a KARE 11 News investigation. We'll take you undercover to look into allegations that one of the area's largest realty companies is cheating thousands of Minnesotans out of millions of dollars. The ramifications of these allegations could be immense. The result of our 2-month investigation is our lead story on KARE 11 News at 10.
In June of 1992, Ford will introduce the all-new Escort. But until then, your Ford dealer is drastically marking down every 92 Escort in stock. That's right, every GT, every sedan, every wagon must go. It's your last chance to get 2.9 financing for 48 months, or up to $1,500 cash back. It's the big Escort. Close out now at your Ford dealer. You better move. When they're gone, it's over.
The dirtier the job, the more you need Hylex. Hylex bleach, also in fresh and lemon scents. Now available at Target.
Dayton's would like to remind you that we're approaching 2 of the shortest days of the year.
Dayton's two-day sale, only 2 short days, this Wednesday and Thursday.
In Detroit Lakes, definitely we will hold a news conference. I talked to the governor last night about the helmet business. We did respond with a news release from our office, too. I'm not so much a fighter. I don't like to fight, but I'm stubborn. I'm very strong-willed. Hi, can you please put me through to the Twin Cities number? This is Cyndy Brucato with the governor's office. That's why I'm the boss. I have a great sense of purpose and a strong sense of who I am. Here you go, copy that down. The governor's still in there, isn't he? 10 minutes behind us, he changed his clothes. If I would fight, it would only be because somebody would say, well, you can't be that way. And I would say, well, why not? Of course I can be that way. I can be whatever I want to be.
Cyndy Brucato. Today she's a little older and a little wiser.
And good evening, everyone. A court ruling tonight is beginning to have an effect throughout the entire state of Minnesota.
But with the same spunk she displayed as one of the Twin Cities' best-known television personalities. She was the anchor woman that television critics love to hate. Strong, opinionated, fiercely competitive. These were qualities that showed up as negatives in her audience research, but also qualities which helped her survive the fall from television anchordom. Today, she serves in one of the state's highest appointed positions as Governor Arne Carlson's press secretary. Traveling around the state with the governor, Cyndy, though, is every bit as recognizable as her boss. People still remember her as the KSTP anchorwoman who led the ratings at 10 o'clock for several years during the early 1980s. Most of them also remember her controversial departure from the station after the ratings began to fall.
Well, first of all, probably what Channel 5 did was react unnecessarily to a downturn in the ratings. And as was their fashion, anchors overboard first. I think they misread what viewers were saying. I think that's very important too, because, you know, I don't disagree that television stations and politicians should do research. You know, find out what people are really thinking, but be careful when you analyze it. And make sure that you're not reading into things or that you are not reading enough into things as to what people are saying.
You know, our friends at the newspapers try to make a big deal out of her leaving, like they always do, but this is a growing up people's business. And if a quarterback can't throw touchdowns, the quarterback doesn't stay quarterback. And if an anchor person doesn't keep generating the audience levels, they don't stay an anchor person. It's the name of the game, and that's why the pay is good. And when things started going south, she realized what was going on, and she chose a different career.
Do you think the public misperceived her as an anchor woman?
I think the public began to think that, well, I know so, because I saw the research, that Cyndy had a kind of a harder edge than she actually had, and she was became a little bit too professional.
I think she was maybe unfairly, I don't know, attacked or wrote about in the paper, treated her with less respect than I think she deserved.
Cyndy's husband, Brian Halliday, met his wife when they were both broadcasting rookies working at WDIO television in Duluth. Eventually, the couple moved to Minneapolis, where they were hired by WCCO. But Cyndy's big break came when KSTP offered her a job and the chance to anchor the 10 o'clock newscast. When Cyndy became pregnant with their first child, Brian decided to quit his job and stay home to raise their daughter. It was a non-traditional lifestyle that attracted publicity and criticism. I don't think people realize either the beating that one takes in the business, and you did take a beating.
Yeah, I guess. Like a lot of people, or like a lot of people do, I've repressed, put those feelings down because it's, a self-protection mechanism. I'm not the only person to have gotten chewed up and spit out. It happens all the time, and it happens actually in a lot more cruel fashion.
That must have been painful.
It was humiliating, yeah. It was. I was so public. It was such a shock to everybody. And the nicer people were, the more embarrassed I got. The more people came up and said, God, we miss you, and that was stupid. We feel so sorry for it. The worse, the more embarrassed I got. Right now, I look at it and I say, aside from the fact that Channel 5 could have been a little more graceful about it, I should have gotten a cake. That was my other. They should have given me a cake that said thank you. And they never did. And I think if there is anything that lingers and that can choke me up today, I mean, as you can see right now, it's that thought that, that was not right. People should have been more appreciative. But
did you watch it? Was there a chuckle or two?
There was a couple of funny.
There were short stints for Cyndy at Channel 11 and later KLXK Radio. But her broadcasting career never fully recovered after KSTP, and she finally decided to leave the business altogether.
Okay.
Cyndy ended up working in state government at the Department of Transportation, and that's where her style caught the attention of Governor Arne Carlson's staff. They liked it so much that they overlooked her lack of experience in the intricacies of state government and appointed her the governor's press secretary.
Well, we felt we had the knowledge of government, but she certainly had the knowledge of the media, the knowledge of the message, and she's a very direct, very honest person, and she does have strong political views, and I respect them.
Tony, why don't you...
What Cyndy has done is taught us to focus on one thing at a time. Get it across, sell it, let it sift through the market, and then go on to number two. I tend to have wide agendas. She has a narrow focus. I appreciate that.
You really see out here, too, where people want that link.
Robert Dobratz, meet Cyndy Brucato.
Cyndy Brucato, hi. I love it. I really enjoy it. It's, it's a different job, but it's a lot like, it's the flip side of reporting. You end up being the distributor of information that you were the gatherer of before. Tony, press kits?
Yeah, they're right in the back here.
Where are they? I gotta get press kits.
The parallels I draw is when the news ratings drop, one of the first things to go out the door is the anchor. News management never wants to believe they're producing a dull program. It's just that the message isn't getting out. Press secretaries to the governor tend to have the same kind of vulnerability. From that standpoint, she comes to it well prepared because she knows how quickly things can go away.
Karen Boros, one of Cyndy's colleagues at WCCO television in the early 80s, now reports on state government for Minnesota Public Radio. The two women were never close friends when they both worked in television, but when Cyndy first arrived at the state capitol, Karen found herself supporting the former anchor woman.
When we heard the rumors that Cyndy was going to come here, I was amazed at the predictions among my colleagues in the Capitol Press Corps about how quickly and miserably she was going to fail. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that she was a woman from television.
Being in the newspaper business, we always assume that television anchors aren't the brightest people in the world. So we assumed a certain level of incompetence.
So I had this idea of this calculating, backstabbing, incredibly aggressive character.
And your impressions now that you've worked with her?
She's a warm, sensitive human being.
The Cyndy Brucato I know will work her butt off and set impossible goals for herself. This is not a woman given to, being lazy or not doing her homework. This is a tough woman.
A $40 million...
Yeah, she's tough. She's kind of brassy, but she's refreshing. She's very direct. And I don't think she's full of hot air. I mean, she isn't full of herself. She's very much a straight-ahead person.
Cyndy comes down here and really mixes it up. She'll get in your face, argue with you, talk to you, tell you what the governor thinks, what she thinks, and she's very accessible and approachable.
They can be quick-tempered. They want information and they want it now, and they don't want BS for an answer. And that's what I think that's how I've established myself with them, is that I don't give them BS for an answer.
I asked him this question when we talked to him earlier. You've put Cyndy in charge of your image. And I always thought one of the things that went wrong for Cyndy on TV was that she didn't really manage her own image well enough.
That's correct, except I couldn't manage. Had I managed my image, I'd have been just fine. But I didn't manage my image. News directors, research, consultants, promotion people, they managed my image. And every time I tried to interfere in that process, I was told, that's not your responsibility.
Okay, a hypothetical. Stanley Hubbard calls you. Cyndy, we've got to have you back. We need you to anchor the 10 o'clock news. We're going to pay you a fortune to do it.
Yeah, if they paid me a fortune.
You would go back.
Yeah, but in a lump sum. And you know what? I don't think it would work. I think the reason that I was successful was that I enjoyed the job, and it showed. I had an enthusiasm, and it showed. And it had nothing to do with salary or celebrity. It had to do with journalism, television journalism.
I never heard that about you.
No.
What I always heard was how much you loved the money and how much you loved being a celebrity.
Yeah, well, that was never, I mean, I never said that. That was what people interpreted. But those were unobservant people, I guess. I'm not oblivious to what people think, but I'm not going to let myself get dragged down by people who are just out there to be critical. I do have a determination to be successful. I want to be, you know, I want to use my skills and I want to be appreciated. And I don't like, you know, I don't want people to get in the way of letting me, you know, prove myself that I can do these things. I think it has been incredibly easier as I've gotten older. Unlike, well, except for television, people take older women a lot more seriously than they take younger women.
Mm-hmm. Years ago, when you left Channel 5, you said to me, my one regret is that I never had a chance to tell people goodbye on TV.
Yes.
Who had watched.
Yeah.
So here's your chance.
Well, gee, I would like to thank all of the viewers from Channel 5. You were just terrific. You gave me, you know, wonderful support. It was a great time, but I'll tell you, there is life after the 10 o'clock news, and I'm here to prove it.
Up next, after more than 3 decades as one of the Twin Cities' foremost news authorities, Dave Moore's era ended under protest in December.
I want to raise a little hell.
When a Pat Miles special continues.
KS95 plays more music. Bye, Mom. No rap, no hard rock. KS95, it's perfect.
KS95 FM, more music, great variety.
You're not a kid anymore, you must be kidding me. You look 10 years younger than you're supposed to be. You've got smooth, soft skin, bright, shining eyes. Drinking milk every day, well that's no surprise, cause milk tastes delicious. You're not a kid anymore. And I'll tell you what's more. You're not a kid anymore. Milk's good for you. You're not a kid anymore.
Milk, cause you're not a kid anymore.
There are 2 kinds of cars. The cars you love to drive and the cars you need to drive. The cars that really handle and the cars that handle the groceries. The cars you don't want to stop driving and the cars that make the stops you need. With standard anti-lock brakes and a 200 horsepower V6, Chevy Lumina Euro 3.4 is 2 kinds of car for 1 kind of driver. You. The cars more people depend on. And now it's easy to win with the heartbeat.
In the shadow of the rioting in L.A., violence broke out in Minneapolis, and KARE 11 News was there first with more live reports.
Very chaotic earlier tonight.
More comprehensive coverage.
There was a large contingent of police in that area.
And more than just the facts, because only KARE 11 News brought you expanded coverage that sought solutions.
More about the efforts to prevent further violence.
That's why, when it matters to you, when it's important, more people turn to KARE 11 News.
This is my final 6 o'clock news here on Channel 4. This will be no maudlin, tearful farewells. Just a simple but a very heartfelt thank you to all of you for your support down through the years. I've been really touched by it.
After more than 3 decades of delivering the news on WCCO television, Dave Moore begrudgingly called it quits last December. It was a bittersweet reception following his final 6 o'clock newscast. Tears flowed as heavily as the champagne. His colleagues knew this was not something Dave wanted. The authority figure of local television, the anchor who had become a legend, no longer had a role to play.
I was kind of graceless, I'm sorry to say, about that whole thing. Isn't it amazing how we get perspective with the elapse of time? But it was really tough, you know. It was hard to take the blanket away. It was, you know, that sort of thing. And But I was a little upset because I couldn't, they couldn't give me a reason for it. But of course the reason was that you're old. They can't say that. It's against the law.
Dave Moore certainly did not come off for a magic reason to get younger viewers, which that's what everyone wanted us to say. Tough time. Just really had to think about whether it was the right thing to do, and I've told him, and again he disagrees, that I really wanted him to go out on top. And he did. He left the 6 o'clock news when a lot of people were watching, a lot of people cared that he left the program, and we gave him another assignment. And that's why we still feel good about it, even though I'm not sure he does.
What's brought you the most satisfaction?
Some one thing. Oh, dear. I felt most proud of the series of documentary programs we did back in the 70s, whether it was more on Sunday or more on Monday or more on Tuesday, that called attention to people about problems in the community.
The Moore documentaries won awards and national attention for Dave and WCCO. But it was the bedtime news, Dave's Saturday night satire, that endeared him to the viewers. This was Dave's creation, his way of making a statement.
And now the bedtime news with Dave Moore, brought to you by the Sealy Mattress Company.
I get tired of people talking to me about the weather all the time, really. Why don't you ask me about my hobbies or current events?
What about current events?
Well, I'm not so hot on current events.
Over the years, weatherman Bud Kraling was Dave's nightly sidekick. The two developed an extraordinary rapport on the air with the kind of small talk that kept viewers tuning in night after night.
Well, it's kind of an amazing thing that it's been an association of this length of years, and it's hard to realize that it all happened. It was early days of TV, and nobody knew much about what to do in television. You got away with a lot of things, and now it's stricter.
Had CBS come knocking, would you have considered it? Did you ever aspire to that day, to go to the
No, I never thought about it. It never occurred to me. What would it be like to earn $7 million a year reading the news, do you think? That'd be terrible pressure.
You never wanted that pressure. You never asked for raises.
Yeah, and
you always took what they gave you.
Right.
You kept the salary level in the Twin Cities down.
Ann Rubenstein told me one time, God, you're killing it for all of us, you know that? Always a good boy.
And you always said publicly that this isn't a hard job. I don't work very much.
Oh, yes, I've said that.
And therefore, what you were saying, in fact, to your employer was, hey, I'm not worth that much.
The direct quote is, it's the most overpaid, underworked job in town. And we're not fooling anybody. It still is.
But here's where I always thought, Dave, that you were wrong. The talent that exuded when you sat up on the set and delivered and communicated what somebody else had written. That is very valuable and very important.
Yes, I agree. I think it should be rewarded. But I think I am willing to accept I suppose you'd say the lower echelon of those rewards. I am not willing to, I want to work, I want to do the job. I'll tell you what's interesting is how little we know about what goes on in our own backyard. They said, well, you've been such a loyal employee, and they said, well, we'll give you this half-hour show Sunday morning, and take it easy, you know. Take it easy. This is the hardest I've worked in 25 years.
Moore's new assignment is a half-hour program that airs at 9:30 on Sunday morning. Called More on Sunday, it combines a serious look at the news with some of Dave's best old skits.
Well, if you weren't such a fool, you wouldn't start talking that way in the first place. You weren't such a fool of yourself. You'd learn to have a good time around the hand, begorra. You see, Patrick, we're alive today. You can bet your sweet bottom he'd be having a good time.
Now, not since the bedtime news, which is about exactly 20 years ago, I have not done any production work. Writing, putting things together, putting things in order, seeing that this is done, seeing that that isn't done. And I must say I quite enjoy it. I enjoy the writing. I enjoy the freedom they've given me.
Stand by to Dave.
You're enjoying it.
I'll tell you this, I'm enjoying doing it. I'm enjoying putting it together and I'm enjoying broadcasting it. I can't look at it.
Why not?
I don't know. I just can't do it. I can look at it for 2 or 3 minutes on maybe some feature that we have going. I can't, but I just can't sit and look at myself. And I think, I don't blame those guys for removing me from the 6. If I were on that station, I wouldn't want me on there either.
Now, why do you say that? You don't want to? You don't like the way you look? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't. I have no neck. I suddenly lost my neck. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about you. How are you?
Is getting old on the air tough?
No, not when you're doing it, but when you're looking at it. I can't look at it anymore.
What about doing a newscast? Did you find so much fun? Did you like so much?
I like being up there where no one could get at you. I love that province. Once I sat down there at 10 o'clock, I was unattainable. I was inaccessible to anybody but my own self. I loved that. I loved that half hour.
So this was really an escape for you?
Yeah. Don't you think it is for most people?
No, I don't feel that way.
Don't you?
No, in fact, sometimes maybe even the opposite, like I'm trapped.
But you can't get out.
Now.
Oh, my, I never thought of that. It was just a half-hour haven in there, where it was just me. And later, you and Susan and Colleen and Cyndy. And
all right, well, since you brought it up, co-anchors, young women out of journalism school, you didn't want to do it. And I remember you said, now, Pat, don't take it personally, but I don't want you up here.
Oh,
and I don't need you.
I never said that.
Well, maybe not that directly, but it was the way you felt.
It has nothing to do with gender or inexperience. The difficulty I've always had with co-anchoring is the very fact of co-anchoring. It's such a contrivance. You have to make the small talk to make the transition. I can't ignore you up there, and you can't ignore me. We have to say something. Something has to be said. Something has to be done. There has to be a look. There has to be a little small talk. All that crap. And we want to say, get on with the news. Get on with it, will ya?
Any regrets?
No, not a single one. What? 3 o'clock? Come on, Connie. We're late. The one thing I do is read out loud. And so I've made more than a casual living at it and raised a fine family on it.
You talk a lot about reading, and one of the things you do is read for the blind.
People in our business, you'd be wonderful at it. You'd love it. I can't tell you what is satisfying. You ask what you have achieved. There I feel as though I'm achieving something.
Are you going to ever retire? Are you going to take it easy?
I don't know. I like doing this so much, Pat. If this Sunday morning show just flops, and it's not getting the ratings, and it's just not doing the job, and they say, we can't use you, I kind of fear that, but I don't want to be kept on to, I don't know, do whatever. When I left on the occasion of my leaving the 6 o'clock news, that was a wonderful time. Really, that night, everybody showed up. I was driven to tears, but I told them, question your assignments. I don't know, I just think the television community needs to be resurgent. I think it needs to make a lot of noise. We're not making any noise now. We're giving the people what they want. They're accepting us, and we're doing well. We're all making money. We're not making any waves. Listen to me. I never made a wave in my life. But now that I'm old, now I can make waves, although I can't swim.
A Pat Miles special will return in a moment.
In Frederick Miller's day, the brewery made a special beer and held it in reserve for special occasions. It's an idea whose time has come again. Introducing Miller Reserve, an all-barley draft brewed in the classic tradition. Reserve and Reserve Light. Beer as rich in taste as it is in history.
Like, damn, this is crazy.
How would you react if your dad suddenly became your mom? Next, Geraldo.
Tuesday at 3 on KARE 11.
Today, there's a cold wave coming in from the north, but there's a heat wave coming in from the south, and the wave...
The wave. Now open at Valley Fair.
No one else has them. No one else can show them. No one but us. Batman exclusive. Only Entertainment Tonight has your never-before-seen preview from one of the most awaited films of the year. Find out what new dangers this movie holds for the Caped Crusader.
Yeah.
Then America's obsession with breasts. Hear why many critics blame the media for sending out the message that a bigger bust line is more beautiful on the next Entertainment Tonight.
Tuesday at 6:30 on KARE 11.
Next time on Cheers.
I want you to know I love you too, Mr. Peterson.
Normie's new secretary has this cute little crush on him. A correction. Make that a cute little case of fatal attraction.
She's following me! Make it stop! Make it stop!
Oh, hey, don't panic, big guy.
It's like she's a zombie love slave.
Because help is on the way.
I get a live one. I don't even have to buy her a drink.
It's Cliffy to the rescue. Next time on Cheers.
Monday at 10:35 on KARE 11. This is KARE 11, Minnesota's NBC station.
That's our show for tonight. Thanks to Cyndy, Stephen, Sharon, Dave Moore, and Tom Barnard for being my guests tonight. And thanks to you for watching. We hope you'll join us again this fall. Good night, everyone.
I want this to be a formal group.
Dave, I don't know if you know this, but you're standing in front of the star of the show.
Thank you, Tom. Mind your own business. Work with me, people.
I just realized I'm looking around at the crowd here. Each individual, their audience will go, who the hell are the rest of these?
Yeah, right.
Whoa! So what are you doing in this here? Kind of, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just hanging out here wanting to go. I'm going, hey, there's a clock! One more.
Smile pretty. Here we go.